everyone, it's Allison. Welcome to my YouTube channel and thanks for joining me for another video. Today we're going to be creating borders for cards and we're going to be using a new collection from Spellbinders called Fresh Picked. These are the two cards we're going to be making and you can see that each of them has its own unique border. Now the flower set that we're going to be using is called Fresh Picked Buttercups, and you see it right here. There are a lot of leaves, different size leaves, and then here are the flowers, and there's some smaller flowers and then the centers for the big flowers. Now I am not going to be using this as intended, as usual, you know me. Here's the big flower, and I was really drawn to the flat edges of these flowers, so that's why I wanted to create this border card, because I really want to just highlight those flat edges of these flowers. So I have this navy panel right now. It's the size of an A2 card base, and actually that is a white A2 card base right there, so it's 5.5 inches tall. And I have this scallop die. Now this is from the new Heartfelt Thanks and Scallops set. If you saw my monster video a few videos ago, this is the same set that I used for those cards. And you can see that this is not as tall as an A2 panel. But I want to use this to create my border. So I'm going to be doing some partial die cutting. So right now I'm lining it up at the bottom, and the bottom scallop is hanging off the edge of that card. It's not going to cut anything at the bottom. And I'm using my T-square just to make sure that this border is straight. And again, we're going to be doing partial die cutting. So that part at the top, we don't want to cut because we want this to remain 5.5 inches tall. So I'm going to place it in my die cutting machine, and you see the top plate in my right hand. I'm going to place it just below the top of that die. When you do partial die cutting like this, anything underneath that top plate will cut, and anything not underneath it will not cut. So it's not going to cut that top part. And you'll see in a second how that worked. Now I do partial die cutting all the time. See how that didn't cut all the way up? So now we need to finish the partial die cutting. So I'm just going to take the die, I'm going to shift it up. So now the die is hanging off the other side or the other edge of the paper. And you can see me moving the die. It's not moving because I clicked it into place into the scallop pattern. Now you can do partial die cutting with any die like this that has an even regular pattern. So these scallops are perfect because you can just move the die up and the scallops will still match up. So again, I'm just putting the top plate over the part that I want to cut, and I'm going to run it through. And now you'll see that my card panel is still 5.5 inches tall, but now the scallop runs all the way up and down. Now at the top there's this little sliver that I will trim off, and you'll also see the top scallop is not the same size as the bottom scallop, but you know, sometimes we're the only ones that notice these type things about our own cards. All right. So here, there's my card panel, and here's my card base. So that is my white card base. I have taped it shut because it makes it easier to glue things onto your card base when it's taped shut. And I've already tentatively arranged my flowers, and you'll see that I have trimmed some of the leaves. I don't need those big, huge leaves. I just needed partial leaves. And I'm going to start gluing the leaves first because in some cases the leaves are underneath the flowers, like this one. So I want to glue those first. Now each of the flowers is glued onto another layer. I cut a flower out of white cardstock. So you'll see the back of that is white because I glued it onto a white flower. So I don't want these too thick. They're just basically 2 pieces of cardstock thick. The green leaves themselves are just the green cardstock. So I didn't pop those up at all. And you'll see I'm just kind of arranging things and getting them to where I want them. And I will continue gluing down these leaves. Now again, you can see these straight edges of these flowers, and I'm really trying to enhance that. Like you'll see the orange flower at the top, the flat edges against the top of the card, and that big orange flower in the middle has that flat edge against the side. I think these flowers are so cool, and so that's really why I wanted to just highlight the flowers of this set. Now this die set it's a really beautiful die set. It's designed to create an overall pattern that would cover your card base. So you should definitely check it out if you haven't already seen other people's samples of this die set. So I'm just, every once in a while bringing my blue panel in to make sure that I like how everything is looking. And now I'm gluing together one of the little centers. There's a solid little circle, and then the top part has holes in it, and you just glue them together. And I take my craft pick and just dig out any extra glue that might be oozing out of the holes, and then I can glue that right down on the flower. And I love these colors together. They're so cheerful. All right, so now I am putting foam tape on my card base. And that's because I need the blue panel to be popped up a little bit because it's going to be overlapping the flowers. Now, the reason I put foam tape on the card base is because some of the blue panel is covering the flowers. So if I put foam tape over the entire blue panel, then and then I tried to put it down, it would be uneven because the foam would be on top of part of the flowers that, as I said before, are doubled up. So that's why it's just easier to put foam tape on the actual card base. So I have thinner foam tape that I just showed you there that I'm going to put on top of the flowers. I just need kind of 2 levels of thicknesses of foam tape to make sure this blue panel doesn't sag too much where the scallops are. So when I'm happy with all the foam tape that I have, and it was lots of little pieces over on the left, I can now put my panel on the card. And this card was really easy to put together. All right, so for the sentiments for today's cards, these are the fresh picked sentiments. This is from the same collection. Now the words, there's make a wish, there's hello, there's for you, and thanks. There is, I think that says bloom, there's a hi, and then there is smile. And for today's cards, we're going to be using the hello and the smile. So I have cut out one hello from white cardstock and one from the pink that matches the flowers. And I'm going to glue these together, but I'm going to offset them. And this is going to create kind of a faux shadow. And I do this a lot. You may have seen me do this in other videos. If you don't have a shadow layer to a die, you can just create your own shadow by just offsetting it. So I'm going to glue that onto the card base. And I'm going to use my little T ruler to make sure it's on there straight. And then I have a little sub-sentiment that I stamped in dark blue ink. And this sentiment comes from the Hi There Greetings stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. I'm kind of guilty sometimes of just putting a big word die on a card and not having a sub-sentiment. So that's why I made sure to do it today. So there you saw me kind of ripping off the smaller little center to that flower, and I replaced it with a bigger center. And there's the card. It's very simple. I didn't add any embellishments. I just think it's so pretty. All right, so here is the other card that I made. And here's the die that I used to create this border. This is actually a retired die from Spellbinders. It's Color Block Scenic Scape or something like that. But you can use any hill die in your stash. Just get creative. So here is the final card. And again, I used the smile and I created that faux shadow effect. And that sentiment comes from the Oversized Smile stamp set from Waffle Flower Crafts. That's a great set. It has all sorts of sub-sentiments for the word smile. So there are both cards. And again, I love the colors. And I just love how simple these were. And it's just a unique way of featuring flowers. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.